here today to explain the harness that we use on our standard breds. All of them are different in certain ways and some of them are the same. This piece of equipment here is a race halter, not like a stall halter you would have in the stall and have in the cross ties. It's a race halter we race them with. It's got 2 rings on it, and that's because if you have a head pull you'd like to put on them, you don't want it real tight, you got a little bit of an extension here. And then you fasten this underneath their jaw, not crank it, but firm to keep their mouth closed while racing. We'll move on to another piece of equipment on this harness. This here piece of equipment is called a Buxton. And this Buxton would go like this on the horse's chest, loop it up around the top, put that part between their legs, and that keeps the harness from sliding back to the horse's stifles. It keeps the harness in place when you're either pulling on the horse or relaxing the horse. It keeps the harness in place. And actually this Buxton here has a tie down which goes from their chest up to the race halter I just showed you on this ring underneath. It's for horses that do not set their heads right when you're training them or racing them. That way they can't do this. It keeps their head in place. Not all horses wear it. This particular horse does. This is nothing more than the belly band or the girth. And that Buxton I had just showed you fastens underneath between their legs to this ring here, which once again, and it fastens up here on the side, like I said, keeps the harness from sliding back. And these are the lines for the horse that stretch back to the driver or trainer up to the horse's bridle. You hook it in the lines to the bridle, goes back to the driver or trainer. Like I say, that's how you maneuver or steer your horse. On top of these harnesses, you have these straps up here, which are for the head pulls, which I explained to you. Those extensions on those rings on the race halter, you hook the pole in here over top of the water hook here. It fastens right over top of this water hook, so it can't go anywhere, and you put the snap for the overcheck on that. It holds it in place. This particular part of the harness is the crupper, which goes, obviously it's pretty self-explanatory. You put the horse's tail through here, slide the harness back up on the horse. It's, it's not this tight usually. You don't want it real snug, but, pretty firm. And that way the harness doesn't slide around. Just another thing like the Buxton, but it's for the horse's tail to keep the harness in place. This here's the bridle for the horse I was telling you about the lines that come up hooked in the bit. This is a snaffle bit, basic steering bit or driving bit that are used on horses. It's just basic. There's all kinds of different bits, but this one's a snaffle bit. This is a tongue tie, which that's where we put it when they're just hanging there. Another piece of equipment that you put on the horse so they can't get their tongue over top of the bit. You want it under the bit so you can steer them properly and they can breathe properly. This is the overcheck bit, which you check them up to the water hook, like I said. This is in their mouth, keeps their head where you want it. All horses' heads are different levels. Some like it low. Some you got to keep their head up if they don't breathe quite as well or have a breathing issue, and that's what that's for. And this is hooked to the water hook, and they can't, they keep their head right where you want it. And this is a blind bridle, pretty self-explanatory. These are blinds where the horse can't see to the side or behind them, only in front. And this particular side has a Murphy blind, which is a piece of equipment for a horse that you have a little trouble steering, and that will cover the eye more, which restricts the vision, which will make them turn their heads this way more because they're trying to see. Because it's a horse that's having a problem, they're running in. They're on the right line. This will straighten their head up. Not always, but that's the purpose of this piece of equipment, to keep their head straighter and you have more control of your horse. The piece of equipment hanging here is called an ear hood. Put it over the horse's ears, Straps underneath their jaw. It's for horses that are excitable. Keeps them quiet on the racetrack. If they don't like the noise or a crowded racetrack, it just keeps them quiet. It helps the trainer who's sitting behind the horse, or in some instances, they'll use them in a race. If a horse is a little bit high strung, it keeps them quiet. Is a really great piece of equipment for a horse that's a little bit excitable. And this is a different piece of equipment on a bridle. This is called a shadow roll. This is for horses, pretty self-explanatory. For horses going along and there's shadows on the racetrack, usually from the light poles. It'll be a very noticeable shadow, very dark compared to the color of the racetrack. And some horses will jump them when they get to them, and that's not a good thing in a race because it could cause an accident or, you know, scatter the field if it doesn't cause a wreck. So this just fits up under their eyes and they can't see to the ground. You have them checked up, like I said with the overcheck, and this, basically they're seeing out here. They can't see the ground, which is great because when they see, like I said, not all horses, but some horses, like this horse in particularly, see shadows. If without this, you couldn't race this horse. You would never get over the shadows. Most racetracks we race on, no matter where you're at, has shadows. So it's a very important piece of equipment.